I'm Tom Grossi, a New York City comedian and diehard Green Bay Packers fan for almost 20 years.
It is caught for the win. Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. A game ender for the Packers.
In 2015, I created a podcast where each week I talk to fans from opposing teams to share their story and to get yelled at for about an hour for being a Packers fan. Last year, I met amazing people and went to amazing places. And this year, I'm ready to do it all over again.
Make no mistake about it, I will be remembered as a Packer.
Enjoy the show. Grossi Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packast, the podcast where you don't need to be a Packers fan. But tonight, it sure does help as we have finally achieved victory once again, and we have ended our four-game losing streak by defeating the Philadelphia Eagles 27-13 in a great game for the Packers, both offensively and even the defense at times looked great as well. Breaking into just the game as a whole, the Packers really had control of the tempo, control of the game for, I would say, the entirety of the game. They kept the Eagles kind of at bay the entire time, making big plays when they needed to, and securing a victory. Now, going into this game, I have to admit, I was cautiously optimistic in that I didn't think that it was going to be difficult for us to win. But the Eagles, they were down a bunch of guys. Jordan Matthews wound up getting hurt in the first quarter. He was in and out of the game. Of course, you have Ryan Matthews out as well, so they kind of had a limited squad coming into it. But the Packers played well, and their offense, man, I mean, you can't ask for any more of that offense, especially Davante Adams. Adams goes 5 for 113 and 2 TDs, and just Adams has really, and I was talking to somebody about this, is that Adams, I think the reason why, besides him just progressing as a player, the reason he's doing so well this season is because, again, he's in that number 3 role. Because you have people like Nelson, you have people like Cobb who are filling the number 1 and number 2 spots, so not all the pressure is on Adams anymore. So now he essentially gets to just go out there, he gets to play, and he's getting a lot of looks because he's coming down with a lot of catches. That second touchdown pass was absolutely phenomenal. It was just a dime in the back of the end zone. So Aaron Rodgers had an incredible night. He's 30 for 39, 313 yards, 2 TDs. And again, just another game solidifying that the offense really isn't the problem, but they seem to find their tempo today. Of course, everybody, as a Packers fan, you're worried about the defense coming in. Clay Matthews returned. Something you don't want to see. Clay Matthews looked to, like, one of the first plays, he got lit up with a block. His shoulder looked like it was bothering him. So hopefully that's not a big deal because, I mean, Clay just got back. This is just his second game back for injury. You can't really risk another one. So that would be very unfortunate. Nick Perry making a couple of boneheaded defensive penalties, and he kind of redeemed himself a little bit by getting a couple sacks. The defense, they gave up some plays on third down. But, I mean, listen, they held the Eagles to 13 points. They got it done when they had to. That last drive with Carson Wentz, they just completely swamped him, sacking him twice. And I mean, you can't be happier. And even we had an interception. We had a turnover for the first time, and it feels like forever. Clinton Dix coming up with a pick. Clinton Dix has been having a good season. But, you know, people had, like, Randall was back as well. He was making some plays. And you're hoping that this defense can start, you know, kind of working towards getting to the point in which they're decent. I mean, you're joking with people that, you know, I could go score on the Packers defense, and giving up so many points, which they had over the past 4 games. Hopefully now we start to see a pivot and a change in that. You also, of course, have Rodgers. There was a time he went into a tent, and the broadcasters made a big deal out of it. They're like, they brought Rodgers into the tent. we don't know what he's doing in the tent. But apparently he hurt his leg, and so they were putting a pad in there. So hopefully that's not a big deal. I mean, he's had leg injuries before. But I mean, Rodgers, he did look good. And listen, this is a game of a lot of firsts. You also had the Packers' first rushing TD that wasn't by a guy named Aaron Rodgers, and was actually by a running back. So that's impressive. Rip, of course, getting a TD, which kind of put the game away. But really, just like the last quarter, the Packers really just they took up like 8 minutes of that last drive. They controlled the tempo, and they took risks. They go for it on fourth down, which I love to see. I'm not going to get too excited, but this is a Packers team that, you kind of want to see. We have a long way to go. I mean, we're not talking playoffs on this podcast for the rest of the season, because it is literally just one game at a time. Nelson looked good as well. He goes 4 for 91. And again, it's just this one game at a time mentality. Rodgers comes out and says, they think that the Packers can run the table. Hey, listen, you have to have optimism, because if you just give up now, I mean, listen, there's plenty of Packer fans that I know that have given up already. I mean, what's the fun in that? You're going to be bored watching football, so you might as well root on your team. So I mean, that was all the good stuff. I'm very happy that the Packers won. We have the Texans next. That's going to be an interesting game. One that is winnable, and then the big one's going to be against Seattle. That's going to be an interesting game. But again, which Seattle are you going to get? You're going to get the Seattle that is tearing up teams, or one that lost to the Buccaneers this previous week. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, I don't want to give myself the credit, but I'm on my literal last jersey. So I've exhausted all my jerseys in the closet. And so this is the last jersey that has been not tainted with a loss. I wore it, and for the first time, I actually wore a Super Bowl champions t-shirt. It had a tag on it and everything. I ripped it off. I said, listen, we got to go big. I also include this picture. I also, the dog even put on the jersey. Listen, like, desperate times call for desperate measures, and sometimes you need some extra support and some extra luck. So it looks like I'm wearing this again next week. We're dressing the dog up again. She's not gonna be happy about it, but listen, it's for the Packers, and I'm willing to do that for my team. Also, real quick in fantasy, I just lost by less than a point because Nelson couldn't get me one extra point, or Ertz couldn't get me an extra point. So that stinks. I think I'm going to win in 1 out of my 5 leagues. Next week, I'll get a little bit more in depth because I'll know the playoff scenarios. I don't know if I'm going to make the playoffs in any league this year. It's not good, but I don't really care about my fantasy life right now. Packers come away with a 27-13 victory. This is a great win to have, something I think the fan base needed, something I think the team needed. And now let's hopefully kind of calm some people down, calm some of the haters down a little bit, those who are calling for McCarthy's head. Because listen, McCarthy had a great play calls tonight. He did. I mean, there was a bunch of different formations that we haven't seen before. He had a lot of personnel back there. Kristen Michael was back there for a couple snaps. This is, again, I would always rather, they kind of have a late, they get hot late rather than have an early, rather than getting that streak early on in the season and then collapsing. So we got a long way to go. The Vikings and the Lions are still a big part of the division, because I think that's the only way we're getting into the playoffs is by winning the division. It'll be tough to go 10-6, but I mean, I'm not 100% confident in the Lions, and definitely not in the Vikings as well. But one game at a time. That's all we can do. Thank you so much for watching. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or at Tom Grossi Comedy on Twitter. Check out Packast, Packast. We do 2 episodes a week. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and now on the Google Play Music as well. You can find us there. We do an interview with the fan from an opposing team every single week. Thursday, we'll have our Texans fan, so please tune into that. Let me know. Do you think that this is going to be a change for the Packers this season? Are we going to start going up, or are we going to come back crashing to earth within the next couple of weeks? Let me know. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.